This is the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. This week, there's a new lair boss on the PTS, and we're going to be talking about the OSIS story, including some spoilers. This broadcast astromech is EPC 272. Where you at, buddy? And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Hey, Max. It's going really well. I'm happy in this season. I'm enjoying the holiday season. And speaking of holiday season, we had our Snowball Mega on Tuesday night in our MFN time slot. And we actually had two groups throwing snowballs in Nar Shaddaa following the overheated droids around. So we had some people doing it on the imp side. I was doing mine on the imp side. And some people doing it on the pub side. And many snowballs were thrown and levels were gotten and snow-covered parcels were acquired and many trees, tree decos were acquired. But we had a fun night. We were playing Christmas music and plug DJ and chatting in Discord and mindlessly hitting our various snowball devices. But earlier in the week, I went to OSIS and did all the dailies there, and I did including the world bosses, and I did all the leave group at 5% and all that stuff, and it was interesting experience, and it was interesting to have so much interaction in general as people were forming groups and then giving advice to this group giving advice to this other group. And so between doing that, which was a quest called Flesh and Steel, and doing the one other weekly, I got a couple of pieces of gear. So I actually advanced my gear level by 1 point. So I'm like 249 now.
Really?
Yeah.
You are ahead of me, I believe. I'm still 248.
Yeah, 249.
Yeah. Yep. Cool.
Math error. But anyway, yeah, so that was my week. And then we just had our own ops night because we're recording on Thursday night this week. And we went into Gods from the Machine. And we killed Skyva, but we ran out of time before we got to the dragon at the end. And yeah, we spent some time on Skyva trying to understand the mechanics because we've never really done the mechanics before. We've always just kind of did that strat where you stand in the middle and everything's fine.
Yeah.
That one doesn't work as well anymore. Ever since they made the ops easier, I guess they also made some mechanics actually work. So
yeah, we were sort of skipping
but that was fun.
Extermination protocol or whatever the one was that puts the red circles on the ground. We were ignoring that but not getting them in the middle. But now you do. So yeah, that's a little bit of a problem.
So anyway, that was my week. It was a mixture of snowballs and OSIS and oh my. So how was your week?
Pretty much the same. Did a lot on OSIS. Definitely did both of the stories on both Republic and Imperial side, which we'll certainly be talking about tonight. Yeah, I did it. I went and did it on the Republic side too. I also did the two world bosses and that quest just on the Imperial side. I almost did it on the Republic side, but I was tanking. It was with my Vanguard, who's tank spec'd. And because of the bug, it was just too much of a hassle. I did get credit for one of the bosses. I killed the other boss, but didn't get credit. So that I was like, it's because then I saw that the patch notes were coming out. I'm like, forget it. I'll just wait till the patch hits, and I'll do it. I'll do it after the patch when I'm.
I mean, it's gonna feel like I had actually had to kill those war bosses several times to get credit.
Yeah.
And it's really going to feel like a luxury to be able to stay in the group for the whole fight.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Right. It was like a crazy mechanic and ability that you had to cast and thing you had to do to complete the fight in a weird way.
How did the first person think of that?
I don't know. I think everybody in the group, I think some people in the group still get credit, and I think it's by group. So then people were thinking,
I definitely think because I got credit one time when I was too slow to leave group, and then I just decided to stay in, and I ended up getting credit. But I think it was because enough people left.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or yeah, you ended up in the right group that was.
Or I was in the right party
from the start.
The ops team.
The other thing I did was I did the Masterwork Crystal weekly on 2 of the sides, including. So I did the one where you need to do a bunch of world quests weekly on the Imperial side, and then on both sides I did the PvP weekly, which is to get, well, at least last week it was to get 8 medals in a match. Oh, I guess it must be this week too, because I just did it last night on my Republic character. 8 PvP medals in a match, and you get another Masterwork Data Crystal, which is the currency, for anybody who doesn't know, that's the currency used to buy 252 and 258 gear. It's not that hard to get 8 medals in a match. I mean, that might sound daunting to everyone, but if you're a healer, it's not that hard. If you're a DPS, you can pull relatively good DPS. It's not that hard. If you play some of the objectives, if you're in a random PvP match where you're gonna win, some of them, especially like if you win Hutball and you win really quick, you get the 6 goals and your team wins fast. You get almost 8 medals for winning fast. Also, you get like a whole bunch of extra bonus medals for winning quickly. So it only took me a couple war zones on each character to get that achievement done, to get that Masterwork Data Crystal. So it's something to think about for people. Don't shy away from it. And then, yeah, it was really fun going through the story, which we're certainly going to talk about a little bit more. And a little bit of rep grinding. I didn't hit the cap, I don't think, but maybe I got about halfway there. I meant to grind a bunch more, but work got really busy trying to close out the end of the year. It's not that big a deal. I'm not all that worried about it. If it's going to take me an extra week to grind out all the rep, but I should be grinding a little bit more rep this week to try to hit the cap at least. So that it's not going to take. Don't want it to take a couple months. I'm fine with the 4 weeks or whatever it takes to hit legendary, but not 10.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
All right. So that is that. What is going on in the news?
Now an Imperial News Network report.
So first up in the news, which we were going to try to do on the PTS for the podcast tonight, but we have little problems with it, is the PTS has a new lair boss. So this is on Osis.
Yeah.
It's called Hive of the Mountain Queen, and it's not just a single room. So of the lair bosses we currently have in the game, we have the Monolith on Ziost, we have Taboro's Courtyard, we have, and then Seema reminded me before the show, we have 2 event bosses, which are technically lair bosses as well, Xeno Analyst and the Eyeless. The Eyeless is the only one of those that actually has any trash whatsoever, and it's just about 5 packs of trash spread around the outside of the room that you can sort of walk around the outside and clear really quick. Not a big deal. You could almost, a single person could go in there and solo it practically, which is fine. This one is a much bigger area with multiple sort of rooms that you sort of need to go through and clear, including large, relatively significant bits of, packs of mobs and trash that when Seema and I went in there and tried to 2-person the first 2 big champion bugs that we came across, it was a little much. So we are not there right now, but we're looking forward to it. So I think we're going to get a group and try to go out there and check it out. It's fun to see them putting this kind of content together. So there'll be trash. The boss is already there on the PTS. If you haven't gone there recently, you can get to the PTS. You can create a new character from scratch and go to Odessen And there you can level yourself up to the maximum level. You can get 230, 248 gear, 252 gear, 258 gear. You can gear yourself out. You can augment yourself out. You can get yourself some stims, and you can go test what you want to test. So I would recommend, if you want to do it, you are going to need a group. Get a group together, get everybody on the PTS, and let's go check out that mutated Genosian queen. Should be interesting. And then we had a little bit of an update today. What was our update today, Seema?
510A. It came out today, yeah. So I think they always said it was going to be, or did they originally say it was going to be Tuesday? But anyway, it came out today on Thursday. It had some, well, we were talking about the world boss bug that is fixed in this little release that we got today. I have personally not corroborated that yet, but that was the big news for me, is that it was picked. Also, there's a fix to a main story mission problem where some people could not progress after a certain point, so that should be fixed. Also, some stuff with Darkside Jaisa. I guess people who got Darkside Jaisa back, her influence was reset back to 1, even if you had given her, even if she got an influence in the past. So that should be fixed. Or at least she should at least accept companion gifts now. I guess she wasn't accepting before. And her influence rating, should be restored.
Excellent.
Also, if you reunite with Lightside Jaisa, you will no longer receive the Darkside Jaisa Alliance alert, which makes sense. That would be disturbing if you got both Lightside Jaisa and Darkside Jaisa. Well, I don't know. That might kind of follow how we're doing story building. I guess there's some lightsabers that are equipped by Darth Malgus and Tau Ildair that are so there's some weapons that were equipped by the story NPCs that were buying on equip. Now they've been moved to buying on pickup as they originally intended. That's one of those bugs I'm sure is disappointing to some people. Also, the weekly quest, which last week was Flesh and Steel to kill the 2 world bosses, and I believe that was a one-time quest. Now there's a weekly quest this week that you can either kill the 2 world bosses or do some PvP objectives. That quest, you can pick it up any day of the week now. It had a bug where you could only get it on Tuesday, so I went and got it on Tuesday just in case. JIC. But you can get it any day now. And then there was a crafting / guild perk mistake where the guild perk professional training was providing 100% crit rate for crew skills or something like that.
That was the rumor. We didn't test it or try it, but in theory it was a little bit it felt a little exploity. They didn't sort of describe it that way, and I don't think anyone's in trouble, but it was giving you 100% crit rate instead of the 5% crit rate, which.
But they fixed it.
So they did. They did. There's a little bit of an impact to the markets, just a tiny bit, especially the augment market. I did notice this past week, so I've sort of been staying out of it.
That they've come down. You mean?
Well. Yeah. So the price of charge matter transubstantiators was staying high, if not even going up a little bit higher, and the price of augments was tanking, which doesn't match, doesn't make sense. So, and that was due to people getting a guaranteed crit. So you could that would be driving the augment price basically in half. Ultimately, if that were to stay to be a permanent update. Which it's not. So hopefully that's going to settle back down, because sometimes I do make augments to make a little bit of creds on the side. And maybe I'll be able to go back and do
that. And then I did not run into this, at least not without noticing. I mean, not and noticing. There was a bug fix to fix some blocking behavior, they call it, which is where you would run into doors, locked doors that shouldn't be locked, or in flashpoints or in operation encounters. So that would be frustrating if you got stopped in your progress in either of those. But that's been fixed.
Yeah.
And Eric ended his post by saying more to come. Like, I think he meant more bug fixes, like
Yeah.
another like, or that there's more notes on bug fixes to come. But anyway,
more. So, well, they didn't fix everything. So they didn't fix everything in 510A. There's more to come. In fact, we're still noticing some of the fixes that we wish were in there that aren't in there yet, like being able to share quests being all screwed up still.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We did notice that before ops tonight.
Yeah.
And that's we were also saying in guild chat earlier in the week that it's good that they're not doing a whole bunch of changes right before they take off for a week or two. So
right.
That's good.
That could potentially be more problematic. So yeah. And in fact, next up in the news, they did talk about, well, so we've been talking about gamer rage in general. Is another little bit gamer ragey type of post that Eric did respond to, and the post said something like, "The silence from BioWare on the gaming gear issues from 510 is ridiculous. There are two major issues with gear right now." So there are two major issues with gear. Not two. There's one major issue with gear, which is the set pieces, set bonus don't match between 258, 252, and the 248, and they're supposed to, so you can't mix and match with the old gear and retain the set bonus. You break the set when you start mixing in the 252, 258 gear. Yes, that's broken. That's needs to be fixed, and it did not make it. That's one of the things that did not make it into 5.10a. So that will be coming. It won't be coming till January because obviously we're at the end of the month here, and they're going to be on vacation. But yes, that is a bug. That is something they need to fix. The other thing is mods and enhancements are bound to a particular piece of gear and their slot, obviously. So you can't take the mod or the enhancement out of gloves and go and put it in the chest piece, for example, which we used to do quite a bit to min-max the gear. I only need 110% accuracy. If I had extra accuracy in another piece of gear that I got, the boots, well, then I would yank out the enhancement and I would put in an enhancement that was more appropriate. That is intended. So they meant to do that, but they're saying they are reviewing the feedback. It's not necessarily 100% that they're going to keep it this way forever. I don't know exactly the rationale behind them doing that, and maybe that had to do with them saying, "Hey, we don't want people to have to think about or worry about min-maxing, and so if we just made those gear slots, if we gave you a balanced set of stats and we gave you 110% accuracy if you've got a full set of 258 and it all works out, maybe that's what they're going for." However, while that may be the case, taking away the ability to have that flexibility, I don't know. It doesn't seem like that great an idea to me. I like the flexibility myself. I don't see a big reason to remove that flexibility.
So you're thinking that possibly the reasoning behind it was to simplify.
Yes.
It feels like it's to make it more difficult to get gear. The gear that you want, I guess. I don't know. I like the flexibility also. And I don't characterize myself as a min-maxer, but I find it a convenience to be able to take something and use it in any piece of gear. And I am a convenience seeker.
Right. But armorings have always been bound to the slot, and they're going to continue to be bound to the slot in the piece.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But yeah, I agree. I'd like to be able to take those mods and enhancements and move them around. So we'll see. So that's something they said, fine, we'll be watching, or Eric said at least, keep that feedback coming. And, it's one of the parts of Eric's job is to collect up that feedback and bring it back to the dev team and say, hey, guys they're still thinking that they want this kind of flexibility. Let's just give it to them. If they want to, again, then it's just a guess. If it was for flexibility or for simplification purposes, well, for one, then why do you even have armoring mod enhancement? Because the whole idea was, that was the fun of having the 3 different pieces so you could mix and match. But the second thing is, you can still provide a well-balanced gear set. And for the people that don't pull the mods out and don't worry about min-maxing and just use the piece as is, well, then when they get a full set of 252 or 258, they'll end up with a balanced gear set. So you can give that simplicity with still not taking away the flexibility as well. And that kind of depth is something that gamers do appreciate in their games from time to time. What companion do you have out there, Seema? Do I see a companion out there?
Well, you should ask. This is my new companion. His name is Paxton Ross.
Hello.
He's pretty cool. I like his outfit and his look a lot.
Hi there.
But this is the companion that BioWare announced a while back that you would get if you were subbed as of December 14th or some day like that, and they came in the mail yesterday, I think, 20th. So yeah, I got him. But you're actually probably wanting me to also cover his bugs. There's a couple of known bugs with him. One is I actually just clicked on the item, but there is an alliance alert. And right now, if you acquire Paxton Raw via the alliance alert, then Darth Hexit will become unavailable to you. So if Darth Hexit is your main companion, hold off on doing the alliance alert for Paxton Raw. You can avoid that by just clicking on the item like I did, the little token that you get in the mail. And I guess there's also a minor audio bug on Odessin with him, but I have not yet.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready. I haven't given him any gifts, so he's influenced 1 still.
Yep. Yeah, so I do use Darth Hexid on a few of my characters, very very specifically. So I'm probably just gonna hold off completely until the bug's fixed and we know that it all works well. Because I'd like to do the alert. I always, here let's check on my character. How many alerts do I still have open?
I like this sort of gray on gray look of him and his. I like it.
I have 7 alerts that I've been purposefully saving. And this is not that I've been ignoring, but I've told this before, told this story before. I want to wait to like record them and maybe get some cool audio and do something with it, but then I don't get around to like setting up the audio and the recording setup that I need, because it's not just a simple matter with the way I've got the audio routed for the podcast. So I've got 7 alerts on my main character here that I've just been holding on to and holding off on. The one alert that I made sure to clear, because you want to clear it before you start. The only alert that matters before you start Odessin or Osis is Arkan, because that Arkan alert needs to be completed and will auto-complete for you if you do not clear it and complete it before you start Osis. So I did that on both of my characters that have started Osis so far, both my Republic and my Imperial main characters. And we'll talk a little bit about some of that stuff that's coming up as part of the story in Osis, but I did find that interesting, at least to talk to Arkan there. And finally, in the news, and this gets to the spoiler-rific part of the cast tonight, which will continue through the end. We're definitely going to get into all of the story elements and everything we've heard so far, especially since it's relatively public. And by public, I mean today was launched a new trailer on the YouTube channel from Star Wars: The Old Republic, from BioWare, and they tweeted it out, and it's been spread around. and it is the return of Malgus as being part of the story. So it's out there, it's public, it's in the story. We're going to talk about it, sort of how it shows up on both the Republic and the Imperial sides. And maybe we'll even, I'll at least play a little bit of audio from the trailer in just a second. But maybe we'll watch a couple pieces of it when we start the second half of the podcast. Before we get to that, though, what about Guild news, Seema? We had a couple things in Guild and community I wanted to cover before we get to our deep dive.
Basically, December Mega. We had our December Mega. Marcus is working on January Mega, but we don't have a date yet. And he's actually working on February Mega, too.
Yes, and I think for the January Mega, I think Lucy, one of our other Guild members, is going to be helping.
I think so, too.
Yeah, helping find that one. I heard rumors for the January Mega of something potentially having to do with GSF private matches, which is something I haven't tried yet. I forgot about that.
No, we haven't. Yeah, we need to try that out.
Yeah, the group versus group private PvP and GSF matches that you're able to do that are part of the game now. Why did I forget that? We got to do that. Maybe we'll do that.
Just a lot going on.
Yes.
A lot going on with OSIS
and Christmas, little things like
that. Yeah, right.
A few million
things going on. Yeah.
But to round it out in community news, definitely wanted to give a shout out to someone who's in the chat room, which is Galahard, Sir Galahard, in the chat room there, who's also a streamer, a big time streamer. Been streaming quite a bit lately. His channel is getting a lot of follows and views, and to celebrate all of that, Galahard did a 12-hour stream last Saturday. And as part of that, he had some really cool people from across the community come on, do a little bit of interviews with those people, do a little bit of gameplay and in a couple different places, and then ran a bunch of things with a bunch of just regular Guild members, SWTOR players across a couple different servers. And I heard Seema was on there last Saturday. It was really cool. There was
Yes, Seema and Max, we were on there together, and it was really a lot of fun.
Yes.
Galahard is a great guy, and if you don't watch his stream, then you should maybe add it to your list.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun to do. Yeah, Galahard is a very cool, chill. If you want the ragey gamer, entitled gamer hate, that is, his stream is not for you, because no one should want that anyway, and you should unfollow all of those streamers. And instead, you should follow people like Galahard, who are cool and show off what's going on in the game, and have other cool people that they play with, and are really fun to listen to and watch. So yeah, that was really awesome. And finally, certainly shout out to the chat room. Got a bunch of people helping us out in the chat room. I had all of the audio screwed up at the start of the show. They all reminded me or alerted me very quickly that no one can hear anything that you're saying, Max. So that is useful, or we could have blown a whole night of podcasting and broadcasting. So I really appreciate it, and I will catch up with all of you after the show. We're going to do a little drawing. Tonight, we're probably going to do some interesting things the next couple weeks as well. Usually at the end of the year, we do our year-end wrap-up, roundup. We're probably going to do that next week. There's a off chance, depending on, weird, crazy stuff like family and whatnot, that it could get canceled. But if it does, then we'll do a combined show, definitely the first week in January, or most likely. It's weird because the holidays are happening on Tuesdays this year, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which makes it difficult because that's our show night. But anyway, beginning of January, we'll definitely also have our predictions show. And at least on one of those, probably the kickoff in January, I think we'll do an even extra special giveaway and maybe give away a 30-day subcode. So keep an eye out for that in the chat room.
That'd be cool.
That's what we do for our chat room because they're the best. So that aside, take a listen to this.
No, impossible.
I am in command now. A mission to kill Jedi. It's been too long.
So that was part of the trailer that came out. So did you watch the trailer today, Seema? I imagine
I
you
did.
So what was your impression of the trailer?
Honestly, I thought those events as they unfolded in the game was more dramatic than in the trailer.
Yeah, I did too, but I still liked seeing it again in the trailer, and it was all just in-game footage from the cutscenes. They didn't do anything extra
It was just like a little bit different timing.
Yeah, so
that's all. Or maybe it was just me, because like when I was playing through the story, and that box opened and Magos popped out, I was just like, that just seems so sudden. And in the trailer, it seems more
right. It was
or less sudden. Yes.
Yeah, it was there. Yeah, there was more drama and there was more lead up, and there was like, what is going on, and a little bit more. I mean, if you had been paying attention to any of the data mining that's been going on, which I tried not to, people, there were people out there that were spoiling it, and at least alluding to, and I mostly believed that it was the case that, oh, hey, Malgus is coming back. Okay, so I got that. I knew that was probably going to be part of the story, but still, the lead up and how it was, how it happened, how it was arranged, and what was going on, and the fact that you're sort of out there and getting this. I don't know why he showed up in a box exactly. I mean, they didn't explain that exactly. Why didn't he like fly in on a ship?
Yeah, because he got shipped. He was, yeah.
But
I was taken aback. I was totally like when they did the live stream and they did that. It starts with MAL and it turned out to be Melora. I thought, oh my gosh, that's so cheap, Fireware. But then I just thought, okay, we're not getting Malgus, and then I just never readdressed that in my brain. And then when he popped out, I'm like, oh, Fireware. Now I get the joke.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I thought it was fine regardless. Even if Malgus wasn't coming back, I mean, I got what they were doing, and I thought it was funny. But yes, especially, I'm sure they thought they were super clever because they knew it actually was going to be Malgus down the road.
They thought they were super clever, and they were.
Yes. So a couple things about Malgus coming back to sort of kick it off here. I like that Malgus is back. I think Malgus was a great character. I'm glad to see him back. I want to see more from him. There's a couple characters like that we've sort of lost that I think were a little bit wasted. I want to say wasted, but in some ways not wasted, because the core of the game, if you remember when it launched, was that 1 to 50 leveling experience with your class story. That was the game. So it wasn't that it was necessarily wasted. It was a big part of everything that went on. 1 to 50 was Malgus and the lead up and what was going on and how the story sort of progressed, and the fact that yes, you just end up killing Malgus in False Emperor in a flashpoint. That was fine. That was fine to me, because that was like the whole story, and it was pre-operations, pre-endgame. That was part of what was up. So I think that was cool. But yeah, I now after the fact, and having gone through a couple expansions and thinking about characters like Revan, and we certainly would never have like thrown Revan away just in a random flashpoint. I'm glad that Malgus is back, because he was a really cool, fun, interesting character for a number of reasons. I mean, there's books out there about him too that talks about some of the backstories, which makes him more interesting.
when that Flashpoint was young, when we were all young, when the game was young, you didn't actually kill him in that. He went over, he fell down into one of the many Empire, endless drops inside their ships.
Yes.
Because you threw a bomb at him.
The OSHA violations, no railings on the walkways.
Yes.
Whatever.
And somewhere along the line, it got switched to a conventional death. And I always assumed that was for some mechanical reason. Like they couldn't easily fix something, and so they just changed it.
Right. I thought it was
But a lot of people playing today probably have only seen that version of that Flash.
Yeah, it was really good. You're right. It was really good in the beginning because, well, you had to do it with 4 people to start. I think when they changed it so you didn't have to do it with 4 people, and they made it so you could go in their story mode with the solo droid, the mechanic wouldn't work correctly anymore, because the original mechanic was, I mean, he did these things where he would like stun and choke one person, and
Yes, I forgot about that.
And the deal was there was this crate sitting there, and you looted the crate, and you got a grenade out of the crate, and then when he got low enough in health, you used the grenade, you arranged it where he was close to the edge of the platform. You used the grenade and you blasted him back, and he fell back into the platform, and did that iconic thing that we've seen in Star Wars movies before, where he gets knocked away and falls off and disappears, and in theory is vanquished.
Right.
But
yes, and so that's absolutely, to make it soloable, they had to change that. I see that.
Yeah, that's probably why they changed it, for one, but for two, when pre-change, that was another one of those things that made me really like this game, which was they played off of those iconic moments in the Star Wars universe, in those kinds of interesting ways. In the same way that the first time I ever went to Tatooine, the first thing I did was go find the desert and go look for a Sarlacc pit to go jump in. Those kinds of things I really liked. But that also, that whole idea of presumed dead because you fell down a ventilation shaft, would be ideal for the story of him being able to come back.
And I just realized it's kind of ironic that then that's what happens, in a way, happens to Melora. She falls into an abyss.
She does, and she lives, and we find that out because they're Force users. It's not like they can't like grab onto something. I would never like throw someone down one of those shafts and just presume that they're dead. Show me the body.
Right,
show me the carcass.
Oh
no, they're probably dead. It's not like I've seen Jedi like jump 50 feet in the air and like grab onto things and force grab vines out of the air and whatever. Yeah, whatever. It's probably dead. I'm just gonna walk away. So yeah. But yeah, okay. So let's back it up. Let's back it up though with the story. If you want, so one thing before we start getting into the story, I want to do another sort of community shout out. Volk has a nice post that talks about a little bit of the story variations. So let me see. Let me bring up his post here. It's not comprehensive. It's not 100%, but he does allude to what's going on in sort of the backstory of what's going on in Jedi Under Siege. He talks about some of the class story references that come up, and then he talks about a little bit of the differences. So here's part of what we've talked about in the past couple shows from time to time, which is we are in this really weird state where you can, Darth Acina can be alive or not alive. Jace Malcolm might be alive or not alive. And it makes a difference right now in how the story is told. And they've had to be, I'm sure, I'm imagining, big flow charts on the walls of,
they must,
of how many times do we need to write script and do voice recording to get through this 5.10 expansion, because Acina's the Emperor, she's not the Emperor. So the mercenary, my character says, why do you serve Darth Acina? Only my mercenary can say that because Darth Acina's alive in my universe. He's got to say something else. He can't say Darth Acina.
Right. Right.
I'm not 100% sure I said Darth Acina though in the voiceover. So maybe either way, they need to be careful about it. So maybe they could have been clever and said, why do you bother to serve the Empire? Or why do you bother to serve the Emperor? To Darth Malgus, which he had a really cool response on. So
and every time they make a major story character be that way, it introduces. It's not like, oh, now we need one more ending. It's like you need 8 more endings, and then you need 16 more endings, and it's just not ever going to get simpler.
Exactly. It spirals. It's so now we also have this situation where, as you start the 5.10, as you start OSIS, you get to choose the faction that you're going to support. In fact, if you're Imperial, you can choose to support the Republic, and that will change your storyline. Turns out it'll be in relatively minor ways, but you get the SWTOR experience. So now you can be in a universe where you supported the Empire on Iokath, and Darth Acina is now dead or alive as a result of your support on Iokath, but now you decide to support the Republic. So Darth Acina's alive, but now you're a SWTOR, and yeah, we're like spiraling out of control, I feel. So we talked about that in the past. We don't need to drive that one into the ground again, but we are getting into this weird state, and it's interesting to just think about and listen to it and keep an ear out for the places where that storyline is diverging. In particular, what did you do? I know how dark side you are, Seema. So when you finished the storyline and you met up with Master Nostoral as an Imperial, well, first of all, did you support the Empire as an Imperial, or did you go SWTOR as an Imperial?
I supported the Empire.
All right, so you supported the Empire. You go through the storyline. You meet Darth Malgus. He knocks Melora off, but you still have to go to find this to clear out the rest of the Jedi that are still part of the
right.
And you meet up with Master Nostoral, who is the Jedi Master who started this whole enclave, which is why the Jedi are even on Ossus. What did you do with Nostoral? Did you slay Nostoral?
I imprisoned him. No, I imprisoned
him. Which I also feel is not all of that much light side. Would a quick death be better really than turning him over to the hands of Sith torturers? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I took the light side choice as well, so Nostoral is also alive for me. But that gets, again, so you could have been Imperial on Iokath, but then a SWTOR on the Empire, but Malgus still is going to come back, but Darth Acina's the Emperor, or she's not the Emperor. Now Nostoral is alive or not alive. Layers upon layers upon layers.
And you get different dailies, or the daily on Quesh is different if you're a loyal or a SWTOR.
Really?
So like you may not, yeah, like so.
That's right.
I'm loyal, so I went on quest, and you go searching for Republic probe droids that are stealthed. And I guess if you're SWTOR, then you go and plant the droids.
Right.
If you haven't done that quest on Quesh, I do not recommend it. It's very annoying.
And there's a thing with the little TIE fighter ships, where if you're a SWTOR, then you're going to sabotage the ships, and if you're not a SWTOR, then you check and inspect the ships and make sure they're all okay, and that kind of stuff. This whole idea of, are you the kind of person who would let Acina live and be a SWTOR? And it's reminding me of Charles Wallace in Princess Bride. Are you the kind of person who would put the poison in front of you? But I know that I know that you are a person who would let Acina live, but let the Imperial Empire die. And I feel like we're down that rabbit hole, and we're going up against a Sicilian when death is on the line, which is, as we know, one of the great blunders. So hopefully they're going to bring all that back together, and we're not going to have to. Well, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I would love to corner Charles, and maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we should line up an interview for January and say, virtually shake him over the internet and say, what are you going to do to put all this back together? To put this
like
Pandora's box back together.
Tell us. I mean, he can't. That would be like giving it away, but.
Well, not the plot, but are you thinking about it at least? What
Oh,
do you want to merge these back together? Do you feel that it's important or not? I mean,
no, he's going to sit down and go, okay, here's what's going to happen.
All right, let me tell you.
Malgus is going to ascend. He's going to become the emperor of the empire and of the republic. So there's only going to be one story.
Okay, well this
for everybody.
This jumps ahead to the end and the spoiler speculation, and maybe we'll double down on this in our January predictions podcast. Yeah. But
I'm jumping ahead into January.
So along the lines of Malgus coming back, where is Malgus going to go from here? That's a great question and a really fun question, and we can all just sort of had fun speculating on that. But I saw a little bit of things floating around the internet so far that said, I wonder, especially since they did this trailer and said this is the return of Malgus, and I wonder if this is going to progress all the way through to 6.0, and maybe Malgus will be the center point of 6.0 as well. I would love that. I think that's cool. And I kind of think, if I was the writing staff from BioWare, I might go down the path of give the people what they want. They were critical of Valkorion. We went off this other direction. We did this thing, and half the people hated it, and some people liked it. Everybody seems to really be digging Malgus. Let's run with it. I would personally, I would potentially just do that just because it seems like everybody's liking it. I don't know. What do you think, Seema? Do you want Malgus, all Malgus through the rest of the year in 2019? Malgus for president 2019?
Yeah. I don't know. I have to think about that. I do think it's really hard to write compelling fiction by doing it the way other people want it to progress and even end. So I don't know if I were writing for BioWare, I would be against going what the players want, because A, it's never a monolith, right? Not all the players want that, and B, players what they want is a good story. And then they're telling you, oh, well, a good story would be this. But you're the writer. You tell us what's a good story.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But they could give us more Malgus. I mean, I get what you're saying too.
So I think you're definitely right that it needs to be a good story regardless. That's absolutely true. I just think it's a little bit of a risk to go off and then create some new antagonist. Some brand new antagonist
Charles
of some way.
Said at the end of Knights of the Eternal Throne that what they needed to do now was come up with a new antagonist, and maybe Malgus will be it, or maybe what Malgus is scared of will be it.
Yes. So explain that. What do you mean? What he's scared of?
At the end of the story that I played, or near the end, I asked him, why does he do what Asina tells him to? And he says, he gets this kind of wide look in his eyes, and he says, pray you never find out.
Yes, he does.
So he's very clearly afraid of something. So the concept of Malgus being afraid of something is just kind of bone-chilling.
Yeah. Either afraid or whatever. It was an unpleasant enough experience, but yeah, to sum it up, he's still serving the Empire, which he wanted to replace. Now, Asina's view of the Empire is much closer to Malgus is what Malgus wanted for the Empire. So
Right.
in some ways, I thought maybe that's just a reference to him saying the experience of being, you know, unfrozen from carbonite and resurrected via Sith sorcery was quite unpleasant. Pray you never have to experience that. And then, yeah, I was okay with still going along and serving the Dark Council and the Empire at this point, and just sort of being part of this because this was close to my vision. This is what I wanted anyway. Or would, you know, I that's the direction I was going, but or it's what you're saying, which is he would be happy, or his desire would be to take over, for him to be the emperor, but he can't, and because he is cowed and subdued, because
And this would be an opportunity to knit the story back together again, right? Because in this, at least from my limited Empire view, because the world where there's no Asina, he still says, as I understand it, he's still afraid of something, or if you take it as fear. And Asina's not in it, so there's something either bigger than Asina or off to the side in the shadows, or
yeah. So that's interesting. So let's see. Anything else we want to sort of wrap up? We didn't really go through too deep into the story. I thought that the rest of the plot of the story. So here we are, as if you're seeing the video, we're here at the farms. These farms are sort of centric to the actual plot of what happens to be going on Ossus. The farms are how the Jedi were intending to make this a long-term sort of colony and base for the Jedi. They needed the farms because Ossus is a really desolate world. I think they, in ancient history, the Sith blew up a star or something and supernovaed the whole planet and scoured it of life, as Sith apparently love to do. And the Jedi started up these farms so they could feed the population, and they ended up, the farmers ended up doing a really cool thing in engineering things well enough that they were able to grow crops and food here in ways that weren't possible previously. And this was a boon for not only this planet, but for the entire Republic. Or, if the Empire get their hands on it, it would be a boon for the Empire. So both of the plots on each side revolve around, this is really interesting and valuable. We need the data for how we were able to make these crops grow, or we need to ensure that we destroy it, or we need to get it for the Empire, or we need to save it for the Republic. That's the central sort of plot point for what's going on the planet, or one of them. It's the driver, at least until you meet up with Malgus, and then Malgus twists it at least slightly and says, yeah, and the rest of the plot point is we're going to kill all the Jedi. So there's that too. So you didn't do the Republic side yet, did you, Seema?
I have not.
So on the Republic side,
that you have.
Yeah. So on the Republic side, you certainly get a clear and present view of Doc and Nadia. So they're part of the cutscenes. They come and hang out. They talk to you. Doc is there and he's chatting it up, and he's part of what's going on. Your key character that's sort of leading you through the story on the Republic side is Tau Idair. Is that how you pronounce her name? Tau Idair. She's the new...
That's how I pronounce it.
She's the Jedi who we've seen on the splash screen, with her half her head is shaved. She's really cool. She's definitely a great, well-written, interesting character. She reminds me of Brienne of Tarth in Game of Thrones, as is sort of like this big warrior woman. She's a Jedi. She fights. She's a guardian. She's more of a guardian style Jedi, I would say. She has some struggles because she's had to do a lot of killing lately, and she sort of thinks hard about that. And you know, there's some really good writing in there. So I like her, but you know, catching up with and seeing Doc and Nadia take a role in the story, I thought was interesting as well. Nadia is the least annoying I've ever seen her be. She's like,
Nice.
she's got a good part.
Nice. Well, she's been through a lot in the last 5 years.
I didn't tell her to shut up. So she didn't say,
that's awesome.
Thanks for trusting me. So I think that's okay. What class did you play through on the Republic side? On the Imperial side, I mean.
My mercenary.
So if you had played through on an Inquisitor, which I have not yet either, you have an option to catch back up with Kemval, apparently. So I have not seen, he doesn't show up, you know, unless you're an Inquisitor, I guess. So if you're an Inquisitor in one of the side quests that you're doing, one of sort of the farm quests, apparently, Kemval shows up. So that's another, I mean, we knew he was going to be part of the process of companions coming back, but he's not part of the story on the Imperial side if you are not an Inquisitor, apparently. So I thought that was interesting. And then the other big thing I noticed was that there was just flirt options all over the place. Gender neutral, whatever, it doesn't matter. Hey, you got a thing for giant rhino lizard new Krex aliens? Flirt with him, apparently. My Vanguard declined the flirt option with General Darun, the Krex rhino lizard. But, you know, whatever. I'm not
You're a xenophobe, man.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. If that's your thing, you feel free. But man, there are flirt options all over the place. So I guess aren't we all sort of settled down at this point, or did everybody just like ditch their?
No, we never settle down. We're just a seething mass of.
I'm a Rolling
flirts.
Stone, baby. I'm a loner, a rebel. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. And then we talked a little bit about last week about Darth Malora and Major Henri, and sang the praises of Major Henri. So yeah, so as far as that goes, you seeing both the plot summary points and then those characters, Seema, what's sort of your favorite thing so far to kind of wrap it up?
Oh, Major Henri. I just love her. I thought she was fantastic. I mean, I know we talked about her last week. And then the moment where Malgus shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, the what's in the box. What's in the box? The what's in the box moment.
Yeah, what's in the box.
It was quite good. And you know, done well with a little bit of drama, and the box opens and there's Malgus. And slightly new model to Malgus, if everybody's sort of noticing. He's got his one of his arms is exposed with, you know, weird clamps and his ripped guns there. He's been pretty working out apparently.
So would you say that was your favorite moment too, or what was your favorite moment?
So that's probably my favorite moment for moments, but the thing that impresses me the most about 5.10 overall is Tau Adair and Major Henri, those two characters.
Yeah.
I think they're well written, they're interesting, they're characters I would like to hang out with more. It feels to me like when Lana and Haircut Boy were introduced in Knights of the Eternal Empire, Knights of the Fallen Empire, Knights of the Eternal Throne. Lana and
Theron Shan.
Theron Shan, yeah. Sean, no, I didn't forget his name. Haircut Boy. Is that not clear? But they were great characters. They were characters you wanted to learn more about and spend time with, and were interesting, and you wanted to, like, you know, maybe make them part of your game. And you wanted to hang out with. So same thing with Tau Adair and Major Henri. I hope they stick around, and if they become companions, I think that would be cool too. Overall, I think it felt a little short, but I I think that was by design. I mean, this is how much they designed, and now you're into this point where you're doing some of the dailies and sort of continuing the story in that way, and this is going to lead into the things that are happening next. And it left me wanting more, which it should, because that's the intent. Sure, I would have loved to have 100 hours of content to play instead of one, but it was a good intro. I think it set the stage in an interesting way and makes me want to find out what happens next. So I think it served its purpose from that perspective.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good roundup. As I said, next week we will likely be doing on Thursday of next week, we will likely be doing our 2018 retrospective for Star Wars: The Old Republic. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully that will be happening. If not, we will definitely see you the first week in January and do a retro. If we miss the retrospective, we'll catch up with it then. But we'll certainly be doing our prediction show as well for what we predict will be coming, when we predict 6.0 might release, what we predict.
All of our predictions are always right on. So
Always.
you can look forward to it.
Yes. So we'll review what we predicted for 2018, which I'm sure came 100% true. We are true we are spot on every single time, 60% of the time. So with that, we will kick EPC 272 out of this airlock so he can broadcast this podcast to all of you and get us ready. We're going to have to drum up a 273rd droid for next time to keep an eye out for whether or not we will be live next Thursday night. Follow us on Twitter at Max the Gray and at AIESEMA. And if you know of anyone else who should be listening to this podcast or catching up with us on Twitter, on New Overlords, our channel on Twitter, or at twitch.tv/New Overlords, send them a note. Direct them our way. Toss them at our handles on Twitter.
Toss them down a big hole.
Or toss them down a ventilation shaft. But then recover the body, because unless you have the corpse, you can't be sure that they're dead. But certainly also check out our guild at aie-guild.org for an AIE Guild invite. That's why we're doing this, and we would love to have you. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.